Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for your main event, and in this contest there will be no disqualifications. Miss you every single day, Fink. In wrestling, your main event is your show is your money, and your money is more precious to you than your goddamn children. The main event is the fundamental underpinning of all wrestling psychology. Hypothetically, every single decision a booker makes is to generate enough hype around that one match that gets your butt in their seat and your money in their wallet instead of a picture of their goddamn children. It's about that sensation when you leave the arena. Even a mediocre card becomes a great show if the main event is fire and you leave the building buzzing. Conversely, even a fantastic undercard can be spoiled forever by a stinker of a main event as you trudge home butt cursing the seat and ruining the fact that Vince McMahon is currently tucking your money into Shane and Steph's bunk beds. They have to sleep in the goddamn bath. We're truly sorry. These are the 10 worst pay-per-view main events in WWE history. Number 10, Roman Reigns versus Samoa Joe, Backlash 2018. Why does WWE hate the WWE Championship? The title doesn't always have to be the main event, but it mostly should, right? WWE tends to forget this, especially when there's a respected workhorse holding the ultimate prize in their sport. See also CM Punk's entire 434-day title run, WWF champion Bret Hart not main eventing 3 big pay-per-views in a row in 1994, and the phenomenal AJ Styles. Fresh off a good but unremarkable match at Mania 34, Styles and Nakamura were booked into a no DQ match for the WWE title at Backlash. Did that main event the pay-per-view? Did it? Fuck! That honor went to Roman Reigns versus Samoa Joe, nothing on the line, 0 stakes, and fresh off Roman being part of the poorly received main event of Mania 34. Fans turned on this match and turned on it hard, pelting it with chants of boring, chants of beat the traffic, and worst of all, you could actually see people getting up and leaving the arena on camera. You know a main event is bad when you can literally see empty seats that didn't used to be empty. A totally nonsensical choice for a main. It probably had something to do with the fact that the Styles Nakamura match was booked to finish with both men kicking each other in the penis and being double counted out. And while yes, WWE, that would have been a worse ending to the pay-per-view if you put it on in the main, you could have just, I don't know, not booked that either. Number 9, Daniel Bryan versus Randy Orton, Battleground 2013. Speaking of the Styles Nakamura match, WWE has a lot of bad habits, but if I was given the power to change just one, it would be their insistence on elongating feuds with pay-per-view non-finishes. It's the dirt fucking worst. On free TV, not ideal, but okay, we know how the game is played. On pay-per-view, WWE is taking my money, and part of that negotiation is that not only will wrestlers fight, but one of them will fucking win. Pay-per-view non-finishes are the worst case of fraudulent advertising since the words WWE superstar Kizani, and one of the most heinous examples on record has to be the main event of Battleground 2013. The story going in, Daniel Bryan won the belt at SummerSlam, but Orton cashed in after betrayal from the cerebral asshole. Bryan won the belt back at Night of Champions, but some bollocks over a ref fast count meant the belt was held up as vacant, and I'm going to say this next bit in all caps, the entire selling point of Battleground was to find out who would walk away with the championship. What happened? The match was fine enough for 20 minutes, then the Big Show, deep into his air quotes conflicted gimmick where he cried every week like a big dumb egg, came out, knocked out the referee, knocked out Bryan, knocked out another referee, knocked out Orton, and, checks notes, thanks for coming everyone. The show just ended and everyone screamed, is that it? And worst of all, this was before the network launched, so the only way to legally watch this show was to put down $50 for it. Absolutely inexcusable. Number 8, John Cena versus John Laurinaitis, Over the Limit 2012. Whoever thought it was a good idea to put the 50-year-old John Laurinaitis in a main event match against John Cena, please raise your hand. Now, you're not in trouble, I just want to have a talk with you, and also my friends Bebop and Rocksteady will be part of this talk, and also there'll be no cameras or witnesses. Over the Limit 2012 saw Cena face Johnny Ace in a no DQ match where if Laurinaitis lost, he would be fired. Fun fact number 1, John Laurinaitis wasn't even that good in his prime. And fun fact number 2, this went for 17 human minutes. 95% of that was John Cena being just fun to watch, bullying the calcium out of Johnny's skeleton. He poured water on his head and down his pants, he covered him in garbage, locked him in repeated STS while taunting him on the mic. Now, I'm not going to get riled up about scripted wrestling bullying, whatever, Johnny was an asshole, sure. What I get riled up about is you wasting my fucking fucking time. I have a finite number of minutes on this planet, and watching Cena doing a Punch and Judy show with Big Johnny's corpse is not how I want to spend them. Then everyone's favorite main event enhancer, The Big Show, comes out, costs Cena the match. Thanks, mate. Another month of this then. And the final cruel punctuation mark to it all, the main event could have been CM Punk versus Daniel Bryan for the WWE Championship. Feels funny to look back on now. Ha ha, ha ha. Number 7, Diesel versus Mabel, SummerSlam 95. The mid-90s were a difficult time for WWE in much the same way that having an elephant slowly stepping on each of my individual testicles would be a difficult time for me. Hogan had gone and the national steroid scandal had forced him to bench all their biggest stars. Without his traditionally beefy boys, Vince scrambled for main eventers who were big in different ways. Diesel was tall, cool, put the belt on him, and Mabel was 400 pounds? That's the same thing, right? So in 1995, Mabel won King of the Ring in a tournament that also included Shawn Michaels, The Undertaker, and Razor Ramon, so I don't fucking know either, leading to the main event of SummerSlam, the second biggest show of the year. Main event, Diesel versus Mabel. When Kevin Nash is the agile one in your match, you've got problems. Big Daddy Cool's title run was widely considered a bust as he drew so little as champion at WWE had to cancel whole tours of house shows in 95, but this is the worst. Slow, clumsy, and with Diesel even getting injured halfway through because Mabel is one of the most infamously unsafe workers in WWE history. The match stank, and even though it only went 9 minutes, it feels like it's still going on to this day. Number 6, Triple H versus Roman Reigns, WrestleMania 32. A bad WrestleMania main event really hurts. All that travel, all that pageantry, a whole week building to one crescendo, then The Miz versus John Cena, that was really bad and was probably number 11 on this list, ending with a double countout in the main event of Mania, having to be restarted by Dwayne the Dwayne Dwayneson, but at least it was relatively short, right? Hogan versus Yokozuna was an insult to everyone from the locker room to the audience at home, but at least that was even shorter and the crowd seemed to dig it. Triple H versus Roman Reigns, on the other hand, went for half an hour. 30 minutes of a match no fucker in that building wanted to see. My knickers simply shall not untwist about it. When the match started, fans began to cheer heel Triple H just for something to keep themselves amused, but as the minutes and the minutes and the minutes crawled on, even that enthusiasm died away to just perpetual grumbling. WWE muted the crowd, leaving this glacially paced match to drift on in a bizarre, heatless void. Genuinely, the most interesting thing for like a 5 straight minute stretch was the fact that Triple H had a bit of confetti stuck to his forehead. I'm not kidding, it's so bad. Then Roman won, we cheered, because we all got to go home, and that should not be the final feeling of WrestleMania weekend. Just a total tone-deaf turd from bell to bell, apart from the bit where Steph got speared. That was nice. That was something. Number 5, the Extreme Elimination Chamber, December to Dismember. I mean, to be fair, Vince McMahon could have walked through the crowd and personally handed everyone in attendance a $100 bill, and this would still have been the most toilet pay-per-view of the Ruthless Aggression era, if not all time. Underpromoted, booked with all the hype and spectacle of a Milton Keynes house show, and spitting into the open mouth of every cherished memory that the name ECW invokes. Somehow, the main event chamber match managed to make the pay-per-view 10 times worse, with the most anger-inducing booking imaginable. In the match was Big Show, in the worst shape of his life as a laughably non-extreme ECW champion, Sabu, who would at least guarantee a good spot or two, RVD, who every single person in attendance wanted to win, CM Punk, who was not an ECW alumnus but still popular, Bobby Lashley, who was John Cena without the personality and the most obvious WWE guy on the card, and for some reason, Test. To clarify, the top 3 people fans wanted to win were Rob Van Dam at the top, then CM Punk, then Sabu. How'd the match pan out? First of all, Sabu got kayfabe injured backstage on the night and replaced by Bob Holly. That's not a good start. Thanks for buying the pay-per-view as advertised, everyone. Then CM Punk was eliminated first. Oops. Then RVD went out next, and at this point, oh no, the match is broken. Then Hardcore Holly's elimination was botched. Fan outrage just rose and rose until terrible Lashley won, and Paul Heyman, the man who spent the entire day telling Vince that everyone would hate this booking, got the sack because everyone hated this booking. Number 4, the 2015 Royal Rumble match. I mean, when a hashtag to cancel your streaming service trends globally, that's generally the indication of a bad night's work. Few remember that the 2015 Royal Rumble actually started out brilliantly. Bubba Ray returns, Bray Wyatt has a nice run of dominance befitting his character, DDP shows up and yogas some punk asses into oblivion like a total superstar. Then Daniel Bryan, the fan favorite to win, arrives to rekindle his awesome Rumble history with Wyatt and everything's golden, but then your Rumble has performed an illegal operation and will be shut down. Daniel Bryan gets eliminated like a total rookie, leaving Roman Reigns as the only possible winner, and everything just collapses. They massively miscalculated that fans would be able to get over Daniel Bryan's elimination and shift their support to Reigns, but even then, the booking just gets worse and worse. Kane and Big Show arrive and start very slowly eliminating all the other superstars like they're absolutely nothing. Bray Wyatt's been there the longest. One punch, gone. People still like Ziggler, do they? One punch, out. Dean Ambrose is over. Oop, out you go. Heinous, ugly, soulless booking. Then Reigns eliminates both giants not because he's smart or powerful, but because, for no reason, Big Show and Kane start squabbling amongst themselves. What's wrong with you? Roman is right there. Finish your fucking job first. They half eliminate themselves before Roman's able to nudge them out, and then The Rock helps fight them off with him. That's your hero's journey? Arrive late, get lucky, have to have help from someone not in the match. It makes less sense than a ventilated condom, and it's maddening. Number 3, Hulk Hogan versus Sid Justice, WrestleMania 8. Some main events are bad because of what they are. Some main events are bad because of what they are not. I.e., the show has the wrong match being the main event. We saw that with Roman versus Joe, but take that feeling, multiply it by itself until time stops. For a decade, Ric Flair had been the biggest draw in the NWA. For a decade, Hulk Hogan had been the biggest draw in the WWF.
In 1991, owing to freak circumstances of Jim Herd being a terrible WCW president,
the Nature Boy was now in WWF. WrestleMania 8 was the first Mania with both men on the payroll. They were in the same building. Did they wrestle for Ric Flair's championship? No! Flair fought Savage in the middle of the card and Hogan fought Sid Justice with absolutely nothing on the line. How? How did this dream match not happen? Now, yes, I know, they trialed the match on a house show tour and it wasn't a huge draw, but like as an artifact of wrestling history, to have that match happen at your big show in your house, I just can't. When Hogan jumped to WCW in 1994, guess the first pay-per-view match he had. That's right, Hulk Hogan versus Ric Flair at Bash of the Beach, doing one of the largest buy rates in WCW history. Well, that's sadness to one side. We should probably talk about the actual match itself, because despite the fact it wasn't Hogan Flair, it managed to be shit all by itself. Slow and clumsy, it featured an infamous botched ending where Papa Shango arrived too late for his scheduled run-in, so Sid had to kick out of the unkick-outable atomic leg drop for a messy and confusing DQ finish. To WrestleMania, the biggest show of the year, the first DQ in WrestleMania main event history, and it was botched. Oh, and the Ultimate Warrior returned, but even so, Jesus wept. Number 2, The Undertaker versus Goldberg, Super Showdown 2019. If shit main events were Ferrero Rocher, then Goldberg would really be spoiling us. Fastlane 2017 sucked and disrespected a young, talented Universal Champion. Super Showdown 2020 sucked harder and disrespected a young, talented Universal Champion, but the true Chris Kirkpatrick of Goldberg's NSYNC of terrible mains was against Gnarly Charlie at Super Showdown 2019. There are a few factors that make up a terrible main event, but nearly killing one of the industry's greatest legends, that's probably up there. Things started fairly well, typical finish spamming, but then Bill ran into a post, and at this point, everything got real dangerous real fast. Goldberg suffers a concussion, is losing blood fast, a tombstone comes dangerously close to smashing his head into the mat, Goldberg lifts Nightmare Nightmark up for a jackhammer, and falls backward, dropping Taker right on his neck. Then Goldberg tries to lift him up for a tombstone. Both men tumble backwards before the dead man finally, mercifully, puts Goldberg away with one of the worst choke slams of his career. We're talking Hogan at Judgment Day 2002 levels of bad. When the bout is over, with both men's auras noticeably tainted by the worst a dream match could possibly go, Undertaker pulls this face. Same. Yeah, mate. Same. And number 1, Seth Rollins versus The Fiend, Hell in a Cell 2019. Oh man, how did WWE keep getting Hell in a Cell matches so wrong? Literally, it is a giant box where feuds end. It's a last resort, essentially an unsanctioned match. Lock 2 people inside and say, look, they're gonna keep going till one of them dies, and it's not our fault. Why does there have to be holograms? Why does there have to be Brock Lesnar breaking into the cell and giving both guys a finisher and then the match just ends? Why does a referee get to call off a Hell in a Cell match like a massive Karen. Everything about it was wrong. The Fiend's red light combined with the red cage blurred everyone's vision so it looked like the match was happening in 360p. The fans were all in on Bray's exciting new gimmick, so all of Seth's babyface fire was met with boos. Then the agenting, when Bray stood straight up after taking Seth's first stomp, the crowd popped. Then came Sister Abigail. The crowd popped again, but Seth kicked out. If that had been the pin right there, fans would have liked, even loved this match, praising WWE for making a strong new champion. But it went on and it went on. Rollins delivered stomp after stomp after stomp, and the crowd gets tired of it. Boos, stack on boos, a chair shot to the head. Seth hits a ladder onto a chair onto Wyatt's head, then a toolbox onto a ladder onto the chair on Wyatt's head. It became like if Dr. Seuss booked CZW, and at this point the fans realized, oh, Bray's just lying there and taking this. Bray looks like an idiot. Then Rollins hits all of this with a sledgehammer. The ref decides, no, it's my turn to be a hero, and stops the match. A ref stoppage in a Hell in a Cell match. After Mick Foley flew through the cell, after Mick Foley wrestled on thumbtacks, to see the match being cancelled over Looney Tunes bullshit is not just insulting to everyone who paid to see the match, but WWE cannibalizing its own history. Seth's babyface run was destroyed. Bray Wyatt got made to look ridiculous at the worst possible time for his gimmick, and the show ends with the crowd chanting for refunds to restart the match, and of course for AEW. For a more detailed breakdown of why the booking didn't work, check out Laurie's excellent How the Fiend Borrows from Horror Films Explained video on Parts of Unknown, but all I can say is this: it was a disaster, booking that was incomprehensible to the point of madness, and all it did was make fans less likely to want to part with their money for the next WWE main event. At the end of the day, especially to WWE, what else matters? And that's our list. Did we miss any out? Let us know your personal least favorite main events. Was it one you watched live? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and why not check out Parts of Unknown for a trilogy of fantastic videos about The Fiend. Jam that jam.